And in modern Gold Cup racing, that has never happened.
No, that has not. And the late Dean Chenoweth had it in 81 and in 80. He also had a couple of others in the 70s. Bill Munsey in 79 and in 78 and in 77 in the famous Blue Blaster. And Chip, of course, got the ride in what was then the Atlas Van Lines due to the untimely death of Bill Munsey, and to this day says he owes virtually what you saw there in the record book to the opportunity Bill gave him.
This shot comes from the tower, which I'm pointing at to now. Fred Albert, one of the engineers up there, and it's Fred's birthday today. So Fred, happy birthday. Out here on Hydro Day doing his best to bring the shots home to you. Let's shift gears a little bit. We saw the activity at the Miller American and at the 7-Eleven. There's the tower. Fred's somewhere up there, or if he isn't now, he's taken off and gone downstairs for a while, but there he is. Hi, Fred. Let's shift to the other side of the pits, and I keep talking about this boat all day, but I had this gut feeling from living down here the last 2 days that we're going to see something from the red crew over here, the red, white, and blue, Squire Shop, Britannia, KZOK. We've been talking about the turbines. Let's switch to these guys, and we'll get to the Executone as well. They brought 6 engines down here, one of which lift. Well, let's stop for a second. They're changing the wing on the 7-Eleven, so let's go back over there.
That's another spare fairing from the truck. As I mentioned, they usually keep a spare set of uprights, and the other one was pretty dinged up on the outside, kind of didn't look too awfully pristine, and this one, of course, isn't lettered, but it's a whole lot fresher, and they'll put that back on. They want to be sure that all possible structural integrity can be a certainty with respect to this final heat, because this is the winner take all. This is the final.
Well, Randy Rowland is at another location where more work is being done. They call this guy Super Wrench, and we'll probably find out why. Randy?
Well, Lou, I'll tell you why they call him Super Wrench. The man talks about everything. He just told me they were going to do something to the propeller, and I didn't understand. What are you going to do to the propeller, Jim Lucero?
Oh. It's over at Magnaflux. The MAPSCO people here were kind enough to bring their Magnaflux down, and we were able to check our propeller between every heat. And all that does is it's a magnetic particle examination, and it checks for cracks. We would like not to pitch a blade off this year like we did last year here in the final.
Tends to make the boat not run quite as well.
Yeah, it really ruins your day.
Jim Lucero, you're one of the winningest crew bosses, boat builders, and everything of all time as you come along. And now you're trying to help Chip Hanauer to his 4th straight Gold Cup victory. And a lot of pressure on in the next, let's say, 40 minutes here before you get racing.
Well, we race to win, and of course we race to win every week, and whether it's the 4th Gold Cup or the 1st Columbia Cup, I think the pressure is about the same on us. The only time we even think about the 4th Gold Cup is when the press lets us know about it.
Okay, now, early today, I'll mess that press comment and move along. Earlier today, like heat number 1, it was so rough out there. Boats were beating themselves to death, but then the winds changed. Things seemed to calm down. Has the equipment been spared a lot because of that?
Absolutely. The last heat, I think, was the best water we've had to race in all day. At least I know that our boat ride was better than it had been the previous 2 heats, and I think that the other guys are running a little bit harder, too. So I feel a lot better right now. That the wind is coming out of the north, which is usually a good sign. It's usually an omen for better weather, and it's dropped off a little bit, and I think we'll see a good fast final heat here.
Okay, Super Wrench, you got all cranked down and ready to go, and you got the L11, the great big Lycoming turbine in here. And how many ponies are you cranking out in this thing? How many horsepower?
Oh, we call this engine Bob, and this makes about 3,500 horsepower.
Why do you call it Bob?
Well, that's kind of an inside joke with our crew here. It's that's kind of like cool or good or great or something of that nature.
Well, good luck to you, to Chip Hanauer, to Bob, and that probably means something nasty that I don't even want to know about. Lou, back to you.
Randy, one quick question for me, if I could.
Sure.
They've got 2 L11 engines. One of them is Bob. The other one's Mad Max, and if I'm not mistaken, Mad Max is the one they run most of the time. Is that true? And if why have they switched to Bob?
You've got 2 L11s. You call one Mad Max, Lou says. You call the other one Bob. How come you're running Bob instead of Mad Max?
Well, Mad Max went a little crazy on us and pitched his wheel off the other day. Bob has been a lot more tame.
So Mad Max has pieces on the bottom of Lake Washington. That's the problem, Lou. Back to you.
Okay, thanks, Randy.
That was Thursday, and Mad Max got very angry on Thursday. So it's going to be Bob against Wally. Remember, in the 81 Columbia Cup, the come-from-behind victory for the Squire Shop team was with Acme, the engine named Acme. I don't know if they have an Acme over there, but Bob and Wally are going to go up against that Merlin. And I don't know what that Merlin's name is, but that boat has been running like a bandit all day, to quote old Muncie. And they have literally been the only team in the pits to follow their game plan outside of the Miller America right to the letter.
Crew Chief Jim Harvey told me earlier in the week he's got a quote from Don James on the wall of his boat shop, if I may paraphrase before we go to Carlos here.
Yeah.
He said, it's amazing how well you can do if you don't worry about who gets the credit.
Yeah.
Something to that effect. And this team has really come together, and Carlos is with them.
Yeah,
all right, Jim, they were talking about it doesn't matter that quote you have by Don James inside of your office talking about who gets the credit. You have to be pleased with what's going on so far, especially just these last 2 weeks for you and your crew.
Oh, tremendous. We've come from actually nowhere, boat ready to go, but the crew is disassembled, and we had the green light to go racing. Everybody came back, and they've done their job better than I've ever seen them doing before. We want to win a race.
This is pretty important coming up for you in a lot of different ways. Last year, the crew chief of the year, coming out here only able to work 2 races, even though you wanted a heck of a lot more to work with. But now you've got a shot at something that's pretty important.
Well, it's very important. It's very important to everybody here, Squire Shop and Britannia, all the crew members. Bob Stiles never won a Gold Cup. I've won a couple. I know how much fun it is, and I want somebody else to share that fun of winning a Gold Cup, and we're going to give it our best.
The calmness is here, though. I notice everybody around here is just working, just sort of getting everything together, not worried about it. Now, maybe they're worried about it, but they're certainly not showing it.
No, it's a feeling I've never felt before. I was even able to get something in my stomach this morning before it knew what happened.
How did you remain so calm? How have you been able to do that?
Well, I think Tom DeHeath has been able to give that a lot of that to us.
All right, congratulations, and you're in the championship, Pete, and do what you can, all right? And Bob Stile, of course, over here, who had I guess you'd have to call the reprieve from the governor, or whatever you want to call it, coming in so you could be able to do these last couple of races.
Absolutely. I want you to let you know that this boat has got a name on its engines, too.
What do we call this one?
Called Mad Bob, right after me. That's called Mad Bob. And I want Jim Lucero to know that he's got Cool Bob. Well, this is Mad Bob right here.
Is there a correlation with Mad Bob and Bob Stile there?
That's right. Absolutely. We're going after it.
You heard it here first, folks. All right.
You know, Carlos, there's another University of Washington Husky coach who said something that might apply also to the Squire Britannia, and that was Jim Owens, who, with respect to catching the turbines, he used to say, if you can touch them, you can catch them. And if they can therefore, make their their presence felt, they might just be able to catch them. That also would apply. Well, Mad Bob goes up against Cool Bob and Big Wally.
And then we got to remember that it's Chip and Tom and Steve in there, and don't forget the other boats that are in there. Something else about the Squire Shop Britannia KZOK crew, and that is, keep in mind, they haven't raced all year until Pasco, and so these guys have been waiting all year for this, all year for a chance at this, while a lot of the other camps have been going for 10 weeks. They're tired. They've been traveling all over the country. They're perhaps fatigued. This boat shop is not. They're excited, and they're on the brink of a possible Gold Cup victory.
And that row of engines you just saw is good looking, all right, but none of them on the ground is going to help now. It's the one in the boat. Matt Bob's going to make the difference. That one right there.
And on the front side of this boat, the wings that they have, they're like airplane wings in that the driver, Tom DeHeath, can flip a toggle switch, and those fins move.
Change the trailing edge just a little bit.
And it's incredible the innovations that they've made on this boat, and it'll be interesting to see what they do against the turbines.
Probably the best running Merlin combination ever in unlimited hydroplane racing. Tony, up on the barge, what have you got for us?
Well, you know, the pressure is building as we get ready for the final at 10 minutes past 5. We're going to take a little break from that pressure for a minute. You'll recall last Seafair Kings, Greg Palmer and Steve Reynolds put together a very funny feature for our news program called Top Story. Many of you asked to see it again, and by golly, that's exactly what we're going to do. Let's take another look at Steve Reynolds and Greg Palmer in that from last year.
This Sunday marks the 6th time Steve Reynolds has piloted an unlimited hydroplane on Lake Washington. The Mercer Island native knows this course like the back of his glove, all of its subtle nuances. So we'll go out on the course in our boat, and you'll show us all the subtle nuances.
Oh, yeah.
Turns.
Yeah, the old bit. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, where's your boat?
You ready to go?
Yeah.
It's here.
Craig, that's a rowboat.
No, that's Top Story Marine Unit number 3.
Yeah, but I thought you had a big boat, you know, a great big white sucker.
You know, that's Kairos. They're very big into motor pool news. We have this. It's a rental.
Okay, but I'm not rowing.
You want to not drag your hand in the water?
Oh, sorry. Hey, wait a minute. Stop right here. Stop right here.
Why?
Well, this is where all the action starts. This is where it starts for the driver right here.
What do you mean? We're hardly out of the pit.
Yeah, but this is where I do the old engine won't start routine. You know, will it start, won't it start? I play around with it for a while. Hanauer can be out there doing barrel rolls, but the crowd's watching me right here. And then right at the last minute, I kick it right in the tail and get the hell out of here. Let's go out on the course. Well, now here's where we set up for the start. The start's a very important element of the hydroplane race. Now, sometimes it's the only element.
Like those heats when all the boats break down.
You got it.
So what's going through your mind when you're milling around up here waiting to start?
Well, I can't speak for the other guys. Me, I'm looking for the shore to see if the cops have towed my car away or not. Now, after the start, the second most important part of the race is the first turn here. Now, usually, the first boat out of the first turn is the first one across the finish line. That is, unless he breaks down first.
Well, what are you thinking about here when you come into the first turn?
Oh, the usual thing, you know, the position of the other boats, engine temperature, oil pressure, Immanuel Kant's theory of human perception, erotic symbolism in Shakespeare's Troilus and Cressida, and then the wave action coming off the exit pin, you know, the usual thing.
What happens when you come out of the first turn?
Boy, I step on the nitro.
What is the nitro?
I haven't the faintest idea. You know, I was always suspicious it was little smudge pots in the exhaust pipes, but the crowd loves it.
And then he said, you go into the backstretch, where you reach speeds of 200 miles an hour.
You're kidding.
Yeah, 200 miles an hour. I read it.
Really?
Right, I think so.
Well, you got to be crazy to do that in a boat.
Is that what you're thinking about here in the backstretch?
Oh, now listen. When you're doing 200 miles an hour with your tush a foot off the water, your mind is the last thing you're thinking about. Why are we stopped?
I've gone dead in the water.
In the infield, I'm Greg Palmer. Top story.
Okay, well, you remember that from last year. You'll remember it from this year, and I'll tell you what, we're going to show it to you next year, too. Steve Reynolds with a little bottle of Tosti Asti last year. This year, I understand he's carrying a super big gulp with him from 7-Eleven. We are looking out on Lake Washington. We're about 20 minutes away from the start of the final heat. We've had some great racing, and I have a feeling we're going to see the best one of all. Tick, I'll tell you right now.
That's the Executone's engine's mascot, King Kong.
That's right.
That thing is huge.
Look at that.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah.
my.
All I can say is he can have any seat in the house. He's taking over. He's not in the final heat. I don't care what he says.
I'll tell you what, if the wind changes any worse, this course is going to be like dancing with that character when he wants to lead.
Well, that could be. From where you guys, I don't get the wind as much up here. How does it feel down there? We're not talking about the same as 1A, are we?
No, we're not, but we are talking about due north again, and given the fact that the wind and the rotor activity on the log boom right about where Kong is standing is somewhat difficult for the drivers to negotiate when the wind is out of the north, and we are talking about a little bit of a problem. Well, here's your rundown. The Miller American, the Squire Shop Britannia, the Miss Budweiser, the Executone, the 7-Eleven, and the Cellular One. And, of course, the Oh Boy Alberta will be put in the water also and will be introduced as the alternate. And if, perchance, any of these boats that we just saw on the graphic there are unable to be on the plane at the 1-minute gun, then the Oh Boy Alberta would get a new lease on life and would be able to get into the final heat of this Gold Cup.
Was Greg Palmer one of those guys we just saw rowing?
I don't know.
I think he went to school with Steve Reynolds, as a matter of fact.
Did he?
I think so. Well, let's go to school on what the Executone is planning for the final heat. Emily Langley down there with driver Scott Pierce. Emily?
Lou, Scott Pierce was just telling me he's going out there with an engine that hasn't been tested before.
Well, we unfortunately, because of what happened to us in 2B and 3A, we had to put our final heat combination in because we had to win or we weren't going to be in this final. So this is a brand new engine. It ought to be an excellent engine, but we haven't had it on the water, and they just fired it and it sounded good. So we'll cross our fingers and hope for the best.
But you said you never know until it goes dead as to how it's doing.
Well, that's true. I mean, they all sound great up until the rods come out. So, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think this can be Executone's day. I sure hope so.
Is there any strategy you use going out at this point against the turbines?
Is run like hell. I mean, if they can get around me, then so be it. It's going to be their day. But they're going to have to really go to get around me because we were smoking pretty good in the prelim, and they know how fast we're going to go.
Scott, have a good race. Lou, Mike, back to you.
Does Scott's engine have a name?
Does your engine have a name?
No, we don't name our engines. The guys that name their engines blow them up too often.
Okay, so it's Big Wally, Cool Bob,
Mad Bob,
and No Name. Okay.
And John Doe.
One quick note on the national points, you guys. I'm sure you've been so busy down there and you don't have a computer, but we do. An Executone at 4,819. The Miller, this could be a great day for them if they win it here in the final heat. There you see they'll have 5,100. So not only would Chip have that record of winning 4 straight Gold Cups, but also 5,100 points in the current standings, and they'd have the national lead, at least temporarily.
And also interesting to note here, look at the Budweiser. Only a few points behind the 7-Eleven, which makes things even more interesting.
Yeah, the Budweiser's won a lot of respect in the Northwest in the last 2 weeks at Tri-Cities and here, and has moved right up into the hunt for the National High Point Championship. And remember, too, that the difference between the Budweiser and the Miller American is just a matter of a couple of 3 second-place finishes in heats, and there's 3 more races on the tour. So Bud is not out of the hunt. The difference between the Executone and the Miller American is a second-place finish, 300 points. And if there should be bad luck for the Miller American and good luck for the Executone in the final heat, she'd go out of town on top again.
Wind beginning to pick up here. Now you can tell that the skies are a little gray just by looking at that shot. There's no sun, no shadows now, and the wind is picking up again.
Yes, it is, and it's out of the due north at the present time, and it's coming down kind of strong. The front straightaway is flat, nice and flat. Looks pretty good. The rear straightaway is going to get some of that heave over there from the log boom, and that's going to be a bit of a problem. You know, earlier we saw John Walters at work on the Miller American, and we said that he had a lot of turbine time. And earlier yet we saw the incredible flip of the slow motion 5 with Lou Fagel. Nobody's done it twice but John. John has Fagel altogether beat with a record I don't doubt anybody's going to want to try to take a shot at. In the total scheme of things, the turbine, of course, is relatively new to hydroplane racing. Mechanics and drivers are still learning about the stress speeds of 145 to 150 lap speeds put on men and equipment. Back in 1980, if you recall, on the Tri-Cities Columbia River Racecourse, a brand new turbine fan pack made its appearance in Pasco, and you talk about appearances.
Sunday morning, Pasco, Washington. A spanking new and somewhat revolutionary new Thunderboat qualifies for the Columbia Cup at over 120 miles per hour, but appears to be frighteningly loose on the water. The boat is the turbine-powered pay-in pack. The driver is rookie Johnny Walters. Watch as Walters takes the pack for an early test run. Driver John Walters is hospitalized, but miraculously is not seriously injured.
And some people have great views, whether it be on King 5 or on the shoreline. Even some private homes can see the race course from here, and yes, we can see you too, folks. We'll wait on the deck with him.
We're back live on Lake Washington, just about 12 minutes away from the final heat today, and it should be a great one. You know, we're talking history all day here. Back in 1958, King 5's live coverage of the Hydros stretched into eastern Washington to cover the Apple Cup on Lake Chelan here via... And we're not going to talk about that today anymore because that goes on for so long. We'll run right into the final heat if we show you that videotape. Best is yet to come in just a few minutes. Here's the lineup for the final heat: the 5-minute gun, the Miller American, the Squire Shop, the Budweiser, the Executone, the 7-Eleven, and the Cellular One in the final heat for the Gold Cup.
Do it right now and go through the gladiators, as Mike likes to call them, the chauffeurs of unlimited racing.
The Miller American, Chip Hanauer, the driver, looking for Gold Cup number 4. And he would like to have it here. And so would Tom DeEath, looking for his second Gold Cup in the U2 Squire Britannia. Tom from Detroit driving for this Seattle operation. The Budweiser, they'll have to work hard, but Jim Cropfield knows how to get it done. He'd love to win in the Miss Budweiser. The Executone, nothing would please Scott Pierce more than a Gold Cup championship on Lake Washington. And Steve Reynolds, just looking across to Mercer Island where Tiger once lived, he'd love to win here in Seattle. And this boat, the Cellular One, with Todd Yarling driving. When we asked him what it would be like to win a Gold Cup, he said, oh gosh. And this fellow, the alternate, if he gets a chance to get in a race, Jerry Hopp will be in his first Gold Cup final. There they are, and there's Mr. Reynolds on the course.
There's one other rundown to do here, Mike, and that is the engine names.
That's right.
I mean, we brought it up, so let's do it.
That's right.
That's the Britannia.
That's the Britannia. That's Mad Bob.
Mad Bob is running that one. In the next boat, we'll take a look at the Executone.
Yes, there's Big Wally.
711, that's Big Wally.
There's Big Wally.
Name of the engine. The Miller American, there's Steve Reynolds.
That's a scene from the cowling over Big Wally.
Yeah, Big Wally's right over the shoulder.
Yeah.
The Executone. No name to their engine.
That's John Doe Merlin.
We'll call it John
Doe Merlin, right?
And there's the Budweiser.
And that's just plain great big.
That's great big Budweiser.
Chip Hanauer, of course, is the only hydro driver in modern times to have a shot at winning 4 consecutive Gold Cups. Today may be his day. We asked him for his feelings prior to today's historic race.
Well, the Gold Cup, of course, has always been, special to me as it is to every race driver. And I don't think anything will ever equal that winning that first Gold Cup in Detroit in 1982. I never thought I would have the opportunity to win 4 straight and have my name up alongside of Gar Wood. On the other hand, a lot of media hype and expectations about having a 4th Gold Cup. I don't want to let that get to me because I've had a successful career and I'm proud of my career.
He certainly ought to be. It has been a tremendous career with 16 victories, maybe number 17 today, and tying with Billy Shoemaker's the 3rd all-time highest winner in the cockpit in unlimited hydroplane racing. And they're all out there, and boy, I'll tell you, Lou, they all sound healthy.
Sound very healthy. The one boat we didn't get to name the engine, Todd Yarling's Cellular One, his boat's name is Edna.
Edna, that's right, and it's a stock Allison. That's Edna.
So we've got Jim, Chip, Tom, Scott, Steve, and Todd out there driving Big Wally, Bob, Mad Bob, John Doe, Big Wally, and Edna.
This gets crazier the later it gets.
But when we call the race, I'm not going to name all these.
I hope not. I hope not.
Approaching the 1-minute gun now. Now the strategy gets very interesting because for the first time of the day, we've got all of the hot boats in the same heat. In Heat 3, we had the Miller American and the Miss 711, the 2 turbines going head-to-head, but the Squire wasn't there, neither was the Executone. They had a duel of their own at the first half of Heat 3. Now all 4 of those boats are together, along with the Miss Budweiser, who has not disappointed today, and the Cellular One.
And there's so much psych in this one right now. These drivers' minds are going 1,000,000 miles an hour. Their hearts are beating like you cannot believe. Steve Reynolds was beaten at about 182 beats per minute when he had his register on one time, and some of the drivers right up in the 190 range. Their hearts just pounding, and of course the psych, the head game's being played right now. Critical as there's the 1-minute gun, now and the scoring up looks good. They're in the right positions.
They would like to get about to that north turn with roughly 30 seconds to go, and they're about halfway down their way to the north turn.
That's right.
This is working out just fine for all.
It is. The Merlins are going to want to pitch the turbines. The turbines are going to want to find clear water. Look at all the crisscrossing going on. Look at all the hunting that occurs there. All the tracking that occurs there. All right, let's get lane set for you now and see how they score up, because now as they get into the arc of that turn, they cannot change any lanes at this point.
Miller's slowing way down on the inside because I don't think he wants to jump the gun.
That's right, he is doing just that. That looks like the Executone is going to take the inside lane there if he can stay slow enough.
Cellular One on the outside. Coming up now to the start of the final heat. All right, this is for the Gold Cup.
They're on the money. That's looking pretty good for the start.
711.
711's inside, and the turbine.
Budweiser is next to it, then the Executone.
Right.
Then the Squire Shop Britannia. And here they come.
We have a clean start for the final.
And the Miss Budweiser has the lead coming off the start. And coming into the first turn, Budweiser out in front. Squire Shop Britannia on the outside. And on the inside, we'll check it here. There is the 711 with Steve Reynolds driving now. Reynolds on the inside has the lead. The Budweiser right next to him. Then in 3rd position, actually now 4th, even though he's in lane 3 there. Spinning to the outside, and a big lead now opened up by Steve Reynolds.
Oh, and he got a good lead. Chip got out of position, but he already has recovered from it in 2nd place. He's chasing.
And somebody's got...
That's Squire Britannia in trouble out there.
The Squire
going down.
Dead. In the back stretch coming out of the turn. That's the Budweiser. It's the Budweiser as we get a closer look. And Kropfeld's lifting up the cockpit. He's coming out. Meanwhile, at the north turn, here is the race as the 711 takes the turn. And here comes the Miller. And Steve Reynolds has gone dead.
Steve Reynolds has broken something and gone dead. The Miller American comes out of the turn on top.
Chip Hanauer has a huge lead if those boats don't restart. That was the view Steve Reynolds has of being dead in the water. Chip Hanauer has clear water to his fourth.
The Squire Britannia and the Budweiser are dead in the back chute. The 7-Eleven dead in the north turn.
So now it is a three-boat race. The Executone and Scotty Pierce, if he can maintain his position, he will get second place points. More importantly, getting himself closer to that national points leadership he had coming into today. But this is the boat to beat now. Look at that speed, Tony.
Miller American at 127.7 for that first lap. That's the top lap speed of the day, definitely.
Yep.
Well, no, it isn't, because it was a 132 earlier, but it's close.
There's Scott Pierce in the Executone now heading into the south turn. He's got the lead. The Miller American coasting now on the back stretch with a huge lead over the rest of the field.
And unfortunately, that lead is so wide that Scotty Pierce is not in a position, though he's running well, to put any pressure on him.
Caution flags are up to alert the drivers that there are boats dead around the course. But at this stage of the game, none of these boats are hampering the progress of the race. Therefore, the race continues, and Chip Hanauer continues to motor his way for an unprecedented, in modern times, fourth straight Gold Cup.
Yes, he does.
Pierce in the Executone running second, heading into the north turn now, giving it all he's got on an untested engine, and in a position to pick up second place points. And now the race for third place. There's Executone coming around the corner. Behind him, Cellular One. Todd Yarling piloting an engine named Edna.
The Miller at 122.5 for the second lap.
Indeed, the battle of the turbines did not work. After sponson damage, after fin damage, in the end, it was the engine that gave out problems for Steve Reynolds and the 7-Eleven.
And that, of course, is the Cellular One on the outside there, coming up on the Executone. Miller down the straight chute, has the lead, everything going Chip Hanauer's way. He's had a perfect day today. He's got to hope that he has no problems. And Scott Pierce, this fellow, has got to hope that the Miller has a problem. That's about all that could possibly get him the Gold Cup now.
Here's the race for second and third. You can see at the top of the screen is Chip way out in front of the Miller American. But Todd Yarling and the Cellular One appears to be closing ground on the Executone.
Yes, he is, and I've not seen an Allison perform that well against a Merlin in a long, long while.
There's the turbine out in front, but here is the gap for second and third. The first boat on the left, that is the Executone with Scott Pierce. Right behind on the right is the Cellular One with Todd Yarling. The man of the hour, though, is Chip Hanauer, just completing his lap. Executone slamming around the north turn, heading toward the start-finish line again, and holding on to second place.
As we take a look at the Executone on your screen, Chip Hanauer has just completed lap 3 and a bit slower, 118.2. He seems to be just holding on to the lead and getting comfortable and just hoping to finish it up and win it here.
Yes, he's certainly not being pressed. And by the way, this will be the longest heat victory and race victory a turbine has ever run if Chip wins it, because the last turbine that he drove, the Atlas Van Lines, a year ago, did not go 60 miles.
This is the battle between second and third. Executone at the bottom of the screen. Cellular One at the top. There's Scotty Pierce in the Executone. A very consistent boat. And he's holding down second position. Cellular One, Todd Yarling, who hung on and won. Well, actually didn't win, but he got better points because of attrition, really. He ran steadily and finished higher because boats in front of him died. And he appears to be doing the same thing at this stage. Chip Hanauer, the Miller American, though, has a huge lead over the rest of the field. And if he can keep that baby going, if he can keep driving.
He's very fortunate that he is not being pressured right now, so he's being able to drive his own race, hold the boat speed down to stay far enough ahead of the Executone to avoid getting into any kind of trouble at all.
Bob seems to be doing just what Bob needs to do to hand Chip the fourth straight Gold Cup.
And Lou and Mike, it does appear that Chip, after running 116.054 in lap 4, is simply hanging on to win it. His lap speeds have decreased by 2 each of the last 3 laps.
Well, with a whole straightaway lead now on the Executone, Chip needn't press it too hard, and he could risk if he did. So he's driving just the way he always says he must, just fast enough to win, no faster.
Todd Yarling, Cellular One, holding down third position. But here is the man of the hour, Chip Hanauer, heading for his fourth straight Gold Cup win. said that during the Torchlight Parade Friday night, he received more cheers, more yells of Chip, Chip, than any other place he's ever been in all his history of hydroplane racing. One of the most popular drivers of all time, really. And he said then that no better place to win the 4th Gold Cup than in my hometown, in front of my hometown fans. And indeed, Chip Hanauer appears to be on his way to doing just that.
And you have to go all the way back to the year 1920 before any other driver won 4 straight Gold Cups, and that was Gar Wood, named after 2 different presidents, Garfield and Arthur. And Gar Wood won it in 1920, went on to win a 5th in 1921.
And through all the history of hydroplane racing, all the big names, Bill Muncy could not win 4 in a row. Ron Musson could not win 4 in a row. They had to settle for 3. But Chip Hanauer, in a very short career, really, when you think about his age, only 31 years of age, will be making hydroplane history as he comes in for the checkered flag.
Chip has just completed lap 5, as you see him on the south turn at 113.022, less than a lap to go for his 4th straight Gold Cup.
Chip Hanauer coming along the backstretch now. Roller's not a problem in this heat. In fact, competition is not a problem for Chip Hanauer. Only holding his boat together, a boat which has given him no problems whatsoever the entire day. He has won every heat in which he has raced this afternoon, and he is going to win the final heat, the heat for all the marbles, the heat for the Gold Cup, and a personal $5,000 watch that is awarded the winner.
And this is an incredible moment in sports history. Chip Hanauer, 4 straight American Powerboat Association Gold Cups, a tradition dating back to 1904. Here he comes, Chip Hanauer. And we're talking a very popular victory for Chip Hanauer on Lake Washington today. Miller American.
And that most assuredly will also give them the national high point standings after a dismal beginning, what they called an embarrassing beginning to the season. The boat plane just was not ready. Yet they were able to get around that. And in the latter stages of the season, the circuit so far after the first few races, were able to put things together. Scotty Pierce picks up 2nd place points. No slouch at all on an untested engine, driving probably the 2nd most consistent race of the day. Only Chip Hanauer has beaten him.
What a strong performance on the part of Scotty Pierce. Just when it looked like he had it for the day, he came on.
And there's Chip Hanauer closer to the log boom, waving to the fans on the opposite side as we see Scott Pierce head to the pits. This is Hanauer's moment. This is the moment that he has waited for, the moment that he has tried to put in the back of his mind. No, the 4th Gold Cup is not on my mind, he kept telling us, but indeed he could never escape it. Everyone kept talking about it. We kept talking about it, and he knew that this moment perhaps could surface. A moment where he etches his name alongside the greats of hydroplane racing.
And that stiff upper lip enthusiasm that he held back, he's totally released now in a total display of emotion, waving to everyone along the log boom. He'll come down this front straightaway where hundreds of thousands of race fans are lining along the shores of Lake Washington, and he'll just plain let it all flow forth now. This man has made history.
Sometimes I wish the Torchlight Parade were after the hydroplane races so the winner can bask in the glory on the streets of downtown Seattle and hear the cheers, which Chip must know are being directed his way now, but because of the screaming turbine engine is unable to hear.
Past our north turn camera, coming down to the start-finish line and past you, Tony Ventrella, Chip Hanauer.
Boy, you know, you can almost see the smile on his face, and you were right, he was so subdued before this final heat, but I can guarantee you when he steps out of this boat, I think there's going to be a smile. You'll be able to see those pearly white teeth from 2 miles away. Here goes Chip past the start-finish line. He averaged a speed of 117.985 to win his 4th consecutive Gold Cup.
He must be going at least that fast with one arm as he waves to everybody. He's going to go around again. Chip Hanauer is taking in the moment.
First time a man's ever gone 65 miles, Mike.
That's right. A turbine has never gone 65 miles, let alone 60. He finished all of it. That's the way the Gold Cup should be won. The man who can go that far and that fast, nobody should take his moment away from him.
No, 60 for victories and 5 just for fun.
Yeah.
Well, Bob was calm and cool. Bob got the job done. Mad Max had to sit on the shore, and Chip Hanauer has done the duty today. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing his face here. Let the pictures tell the story and listen to the crowd.
on, you people. Back up. Back it up. They don't know anything.
There is no moment.
Let them know when they're going to come to me. Lisa?
There is no moment in sports like victory, and Chip Hanauer is celebrating with every member of his crew. The men he pointed to as the boat came in to the pits, he was pointing to his crew, the people that kept this craft together, the people that lubricated Bob and got it to the position to where he could take it around through 3 and indeed 4 heats and win every one of them.
This crew has put this boat back together so many times. They practically built it again every weekend, and yet the boat continues to be so incredible when it finally gets running. Here's the final finish now. Miller American, your winner. The Executone, no excuses, no apologies necessary from the two-tone blue and white Executone. They did a wonderful job today. The Cellular won, and look there, Miss Budweiser, 4th place in this Gold Cup. The Squire Shop 5th, the 7-Eleven, 6th place overall. And in the national points, the Miller American now has a 400-point lead. That's only one first-place victory in a heat ahead of the Executone. The Executone remains in the hunt for national points. 7-Eleven is up there. Budweiser 4th overall. And the American Speedy Printing moves into the top 5 at the conclusion of this Gold Cup. But the moment today, with 3 races left to decide that race for national points, the moment today belongs clearly to Chip Hanauer and the incredible, the awesome, and that word is so overused in sports, but when you see that boat run, there's just no other word in the dictionary quite appropriate enough.
We've seen victories before, but this is history making. We may never see any driver win 4 in a row again, and yet we have seen Chip Hanauer do it today. Carlos, you've been standing there. Let's go to you right now. Go ahead. Tell us what's going on the pier.
Well, right now we're waiting, of course, for Chip to come back across. There's a deluge of people here, of course, trying to track Chip down, just like we are. Apparently the URC is out there right now talking with him, and of course Chip is probably one of the happiest persons just about anywhere, and I'm sure right here in this complete area in the Northwest right now. He finally did it. We're going to try to drag him this way. I think he's walking this way right now. Hang on for a second. We'll grab him for 1 minute. He has to jump over, of course, and go to the radio broadcast, but if we can get him for just 1 second, hopefully that can happen. He's still getting congratulations from all his fans and, of course, his crew members and all the people that are involved with his racing team, and everybody's got to give him a kiss, a hug. This is a tremendous moment for Chip Hanauer. A tremendous moment for Chip Hanauer. Chip, and you did it in front of the hometown fans and, of course, your own hometown.
I can't describe it. I just feel really undeserving. You know, my boat racing career started about 22 years ago, and people like Ernie Lauber and Gordy Cole and Bob Warden, and there's just this whole bunch of people that let me do this, and I'm undeserving. I just feel really privileged.
I don't know how you can say it, but what you've done in such a short period of time, and here you are with some of the emotion that we haven't seen all day long, and it finally came.
Yeah, it was a long week. You know, there was so much pressure, and there was so much hype, and everybody wanted to see it done, and I was scared, and I was scared bad, and I'm just glad it's over.
But you didn't manage to show it, did you?
With that, well, it probably showed. If you know me, it probably showed.
We do know you, but at least you did it. Congratulations, a wonderful race, and of course, a wonderful Gold Cup victory.
The crew gave me the best machine out there, and I just, again, really privileged.
Congratulations again. All right, we'll let you get to the radio broadcast. Thank you very much. Lou, we'll go back up to you on top. A tremendous victory for Chip Hanauer. His 4th straight Gold Cup, unprecedented in modern time.
This kind of sends goosebumps.
What a tremendous gentleman Chip is.
Well, the Executone, through adversity today, manages to come up 2nd. Very consistent boat. Scotty Pierce has got to be pleased, and let's just find out with Randy Rowland.
Thank you, Lou. You know, the Pierce family worked together very hard for a long time. This is Jan Pierce and Dan and Scotty and Scott. Congratulations on a great day today.
Well, thank you. I'm going to start. I thought we were okay. In the middle, I thought, oh, no. And towards the end, it was getting better, and this is a real nice finish for us. We would prefer to be first, but we'd like to congratulate the Miller American and Chip Hanauer. They did a super job, and they're the deserving winners, and we deserve second, so that's where we're at.
All right. Jan, were you ever a cheerleader? I saw you doing a couple of cartwheels out here about the time Scott came across the finish line.
Hey, I'm learning.
You do a great job. Okay, well, Scott, 381 points now behind in the national point standing, and a good showing here in front of your hometown fans. You're from Edmonds. Want to wish you the best of luck the rest of the season in Oklahoma City next time around.
Well, thank you, and we still plan on winning that national championship, believe me.
All right, go get them. Lou, back to you.
Well, Randy, they're certainly in position to do that. The Executone in second place, as Mike mentioned, only Heat's 400 worth of points, or 400 points behind this boat, the Miller American. A rather rough day for Tom DeEath. Yet, I think we're going to hear more from this boat as the season wears on.
Yep.
Well, this wraps up our coverage of the APBA Gold Cup for Tony Ventrella, Emily Langley, Mike Fitzsimmons, Carlos Del Valle.